What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the channel if you're new to it. This is Hayden Newberry Fishing. I'm Hayden Newberry, and I travel around my camper. I'm a travel nurse, and I bass fish as much as I can, and then work a little bit in between. And I pretty much just travel around the country and fish lakes that I want to fish or I want to know more about because I might see them on a tournament schedule. That's what I do, and that's kind of where a lot of my content comes, my fishing content comes from, that in tournaments. But anyway, tonight I'm making a video about really a topic. So I wasn't actually even going to make a video about this, and really hadn't thought much into it, I guess. But earlier today I saw a comment. A guy asked me what he thought my opinion was about this, and I was like, hey, really tonight would be a good time to just make a video about it, because I think that the way I think about it probably is something you've heard before. I know that I've heard other people say it. I've talked about it with other people initially when it happened, and I mean, I feel like it's kind of obvious. So the topic is MLF changing I guess the majority. I guess they still have some tournaments that are going to be all the fish count, but the back to a 5 fish limit. And I don't think that it's which I've heard some things about it, as to that. I guess it was kind of a vote from the people that are in the Bass Pro Tour, and which I think that's how it should be. It should be the guys that are competing get to have a say. So that being said, I don't necessarily think that the move was for viewership. So I don't think that they were going, oh, our ratings are going to go up because we make it a 5 bass limit. I think that mostly what helps their ratings, this is total speculation, guys. This is not this is not something that I've researched this portion of it. But I think that a lot of people just like watching the competition of it. I think that the cut line thing is pretty cool. I like that. To me, that interests me more than a lot of things on there. Is watching people jumping back and forth and making the cut and everything. That's pretty cool. But that being said, I don't think that necessarily a 5 fish limit benefits viewership. So I think it's solely an opinion of the competitors that they're like, come on, like, we need to go back to 5 fish. And here's why I think that they did that. And I hate to, because obviously I guess the opinions of other people of why they wanted it are a lot of it's going to be speculation. But I think it's fairly obvious, and I totally could be wrong. But look at how things shake out when every fish counts. Say you have like these tournaments and places where you can catch a lot of 2-pound fish offshore on live scope, as opposed to going and swinging for big ones up shallow. Flipping a jig, throwing like a spinner bait and stuff like that. There's a lot of tournaments where, and I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those guys that if I went to the Bass Pro Tour, I would probably get my teeth kicked in, because a lot of there are a lot of the tournaments that I do well in, I don't catch a lot of fish. I'm one of those guys that those are the things that I like to do, and I'm not sure I would fare very well in an all the fish count tournament. That's I've never competed in one, but I can tell you with my history, I've never actually even had to practice for, what I mean. I've never had to practice for a tournament like that, so I can't say, I guess, necessarily how I would fare, but based on what I know about the way I fish and what I like to target for the best 5 tournaments, that I don't think I would be one of those guys that would be voting to change it. So that's why I feel like I can say pretty well that if they ask me, they're like, hey, would you rather keep fishing every fish counts or go back to a 5 fish limit tournament, for the benefit of myself, being a guy that doesn't do a lot of the offshore live scope stuff, and kind of a lot of the stuff you see like Wheeler and them doing, where they're just out there, killing people, just annihilating the field with these electronics tournaments. If you want, that's the best way I can describe them. An electronic tournament where a lot of it is based off of using your electronics offshore. So that's why I feel like I can give somewhat of an opinion on this. Is that for me personally, if they said I'm gonna gradually get to this point, so I'm kind of just talking through this. But if I tomorrow had to beat Jacob Wheeler, and I can bring up Jacob Wheeler because he's definitely doing the best out of everybody in these things. He does really well consistently in all fish count tournaments. If you told me tomorrow that I had to go beat Jacob Wheeler, I knew I would have a better chance of beating him in your 5 best fish count, a 5 fish limit tournament, as opposed to all your fish count. And you gotta think, when you're doing it for a living and you ask, Andy Morgan, how can you beat Jacob Wheeler? What's going to give you the best odds of beating a guy like Jacob Wheeler or one of those guys, Dustin Connell, one of those guys? What's going to give you the best odds? It's a 5 fish limit. That's the truth of it, is that, and here's why. And I'm not sure if I've heard as many people say this, but I know that people that fish a lot of tournaments see it. And that's because it's like the law of chance and numbers. So Jacob Wheeler catches, and I'm just going to literally refer to Jacob Wheeler as the guy that that's winning all these, because he really is he's got it figured out when it comes to these every fish counts tournaments. But he catches 200 3-pounders. If I catch 5 fish, 4 of them are 3 pounds and 1 is 4 pounds, I just beat him. And that's how it works. That's the legitimacy of it. And there's a lot of tournaments where there are guys in those MLF tournaments that would have won in a 5 fish limit counts type deal. And that's why it's such a big thing. It makes it evens the playing field is I guess the best way I can describe it. Because maybe Wheeler catches 20 pounds, but he catches 70 fish that day, would have walked away with it. But then you gotta have a guy that catches, his best 5 go 20 and a half, but he caught 6 fish. That's how that works. It doesn't always go that way. A lot of times the guys that do catch the numbers end up winning the tournaments anyway. That's part of it. But there's definitely a big argument to say that decision was probably made to even the playing field, because there might have been some guys that were tired of competing against that. So personally, I think that's why the decision was made more so than anything. I think that there was quite a few guys maybe in the field that wanted to even things a little bit and like fishing for, swinging for the biggest 5, and that's the best way to even it out. So plain and simple, pretty much my opinion is that if you're playing the odds here, that there are guys that wanted that, and I say that there are going to be guys that just like a 5 fish limit tournament. But I would dare to say that a lot of them are making this decision solely based off of that it increases their odds of finishing well if they're not electronics oriented person, because I feel like the MLF style definitely caters to the person who is very efficient with electronics. Anyway, that's my opinion on it. Just wanted to make a video about it. Thought it was kind of an interesting subject. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to continue working on some Rayburn videos. It's taking me forever because I keep having to work on them after work here, and I've got to wake up in the morning again for work, and it's kind of late. So But I'll be off work here coming in the next couple days, so hopefully I'll get some of them finished and get them posted for you guys. But thanks for watching. See you on the next one.